Hello, my fellow music heads. Today, we're coming to you from Brooklyn, New York, and we get to spend some time and talk to Wayne Tucker and the Bad Mothas, and they are some bad mothers.
Just doing the routine, you know? The part that is not so fun.
I'm really excited to talk with you guys, so it's so nice to finally be here and to get your story about how you guys have influenced Brooklyn and music during a pandemic. I guess the most basic thing to start with is, at what age did you guys begin your musical journey?
I guess I'm kind of speaking for me and Miles. Obviously he'll tell you more about it, but we grew up together playing with our parents, oftentimes with our dad, just jamming on keyboards. So really from the time, I don't know, say we were like 2 or 3 years old, we didn't really know what we were doing, you know, and we would just, he'd put on music and we'd just play along. And then from there, we picked up other instruments in school and played in church, went on to study music in an intense way, and yeah, it brought us to the place where we're professional musicians.
I was 6 years old, and my mom came home from work one day and was looking directly at my older brother and said, hey, does anyone want to take piano lessons? And I'm like, yeah, I want to, because I had always seen the piano in our house, and I thought it was just this beautiful mechanical wonder. And so I did that, and the rest of my family all played guitar. And so I would always jam with them and try to figure out how to keep up. And I liked being the different one.
I started playing when I was 2. Like Miles and Wayne, my dad is also a musician. I got my first drum set when I was 2. They would kind of bring me up as a novelty act in my dad's band when I was like 4 or 5. And then I got the gig in my dad's band when I was like 8, I'm gonna say.
So I started playing violin when I was 5 years old, like Wayne. I played the violin, and you know, in my house, my parents always listened to music. My dad's an amateur musician, and actually my mom, like, she wouldn't ever say that, but like she could actually play some piano, and she would accompany me like when I was 7 years old, something. So there's always music in the house.
So my co-host Jess, she wanted to be here so bad today, but she had 2 questions that she wanted to ask. So I'm gonna call her and see what she wants to ask you guys. Yo, Jess, hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up, guys? My question for you today is, during quarantine, whose idea was it to move forward and play at Grand Army Plaza? You know, what part of quarantine did the idea strike?
It was Diego's idea, but I think that for us it became a thing that we became committed to pretty early on because the response was positive. I mean, the first time that we played, it was actually the 3 of us. And we played just a little bit inside of the park because there were other bands playing inside of the park. And we did pretty well. Like, we had a good response and we had a great time.
Yeah, Diego made a sign.
Yeah, we sounded terrible. I remember even laughing at each other that we sounded so bad. No, I'm dead serious. I remember that we all laughed at how bad we sounded together, but we had such a great time that we were like, yo, we got to go back and do it. And so the next time Miles came with us, and Miles is the one who said, hey, we should play out here at the entrance.
Miles was like the business side of the band, and he's like very analytical with foot traffic and numbers and like all that. So he was like, And then he was like, okay, we should go to this location at this time because you're getting all these, so he's the business mind of the band.
Let's talk about the New York Times. So when that happened and they reached out and they did a piece on you guys, that's literally one of the main things that put you guys on the map during the pandemic. What has that done for you? And what did you guys think when they approached you and were like, we want to do this piece on you?
Okay, so first of all, thank you, Margot Boyer-Dry, for writing about us. She's someone who's been had seen us play for many months and still comes to see us. So she's we appreciate her support, and I think in some sense that I think it validated the community's feelings of the event that they experienced, where everything feels like they experienced something special together. When they write about it in the newspaper, you go, oh, I was right. I really did experience something. It wasn't just something mundane, And on the other hand, I also think that it puts a certain images of us and our value in people's minds. If you see someone playing on the street, they might not have a large value to you. If you were to approach them and say, hey, I'd like to hire you, the amount that you would offer that person versus the person that you just saw playing at Avery Fisher Hall would be different, even if that person might be one and the same. And so I think even though we were on the street, I think that the article in the New York Times gave us an inherent value.
But at the same time, and maybe this is almost a boring answer in a way, but I don't know if it really changed our lives. We're still us.
Of course.
We still play music. We still have to go back to the park and play more, to be seen. We still have to practice our instruments. I'm still unaffected, I'm just still Miles, and that was the thing with it. And it's like people will reach out to you like, you've made it. And it's like, you're still here.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about before, about accomplishments and,
The accolades that come with that.
And just the general, we're still on a mission of...
And it's not that we don't appreciate it, we
No, I totally know that you guys do. I don't think that's not even a question at all. I know you guys do feel love for how everybody has responded to what you guys have done. But I think more than anything, I think it's a beautiful thing that you guys went outside of yourselves and you were like, you know what? Let's just go ahead and let's just do this and see what happens. Let's speak about the one thing that made you guys go viral. So you guys are in Grand Army Plaza, regular day. You're playing, everybody's happy that you guys are out there, and then New York State Senator Schumer comes over there and he starts dancing. What was your reaction to that? Because literally I saw so many videos and I'm like, man, this thing is spreading fast. And it went viral. So what did you guys think about that day when that was
I was
happening?
like, who is this guy trying to sit in? I didn't know who.
Because there was a crowd. There was a crowd of people there that...
I'm not from here. I didn't know who this gentleman was. But I was like, wow, who's this guy who's trying to sit in? Because he showed up with his crew, There is security guards and everything. And he was like, can I sit in with you guys or whatever? And
this guy say something. It was like, yeah, sure. Obviously you're somebody.
He sang Georgia.
Kind of.
Is that what
Georgia,
you call it?
Georgia on my mind. And he forgot the lyrics, so somebody had to come up with
the lyrics,
a
the
phone
notes
in front of him. So he was. But it was amazing. It was a really nice energy, for sure.
Do you know what the best part was? He didn't even tip the band, but.
In all seriousness, though, for me, that day wasn't about him at all. That day was about Trump being gone, and it was the best day that I've experienced, maybe as a human, just to see how everybody loved each other.
It was
with strangers. You really felt a connection to a stranger, and so he was just incidental to me. He was another.
That was
that was
for 20 minutes out of 4 hours that didn't really stand out in our minds any more than the other 3 hours and
It was
40
just a
minutes.
video.
Yeah.
For me, it was just a video, but like
Yeah.
the moment was like, I mean, after we finished playing, I walked around the park by myself and just ran into people I knew and ran into strangers and just experienced the moment with them and chatted and just enjoyed humanity for what felt like one of the first times in a long time, you know, outside of specifically playing music for them. So yeah, it was just, yeah, to me, that's what that day was about. And Chuck Schumer was just part of like riding the wave of that.
Did you guys think at some point, like when this began, that it was gonna turn into this New York Times thing and all of this stuff is
Definitely
happening?
not.
No, right? That there was like a demand for it. Like people love to see you guys.
You can take a step back, and when you like look, when I look at us, I'm like, these are 5 like great musicians that are in New York, and a lot of our friends unfortunately like had to leave because they couldn't pay bills or whatever reason, but like we're the ones that are here, and so at some point like people notice, and it's gonna become a thing, like when you're doing the right stuff over and over and over again and being in the right places. Yeah.
So when you guys began your journeys, what was the situation, or at what time did you actually say to yourself, okay, this is what I really want to do? Like, this is what I want as my career. Do you remember when that actually happened, or?
I don't remember it, but I have like evidence where I've written down like old, you know, in school where they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And, you know, since from day one, it's just like drums. Sometimes I put down artist too, because I was also into drawing and stuff like that. But yeah, definitely I knew immediately. Because like my dad is a drummer, my brother was a drummer, my sister was a drummer as well at the time. So I was just like, oh, that's obviously what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for you?
For me, it was when I saw the movie Blues Brothers. When I was
Really?
like 6
Okay.
years old. Yeah.
And you knew after watching, you're like, I want to do that. Okay.
Yeah, for me, it was nothing that I ever made a full decision on, I think. Of the band that's here today, I'm the only one that like doesn't play full time. So for me, it's always just been a fun thing, but I always knew, like, I started playing viola when I was 8 years old and then saxophone at 9. And then I just kind of knew I would always play. So like when it was time to go to college, it wasn't like, what are you gonna do? It was like, oh, I'm just gonna go to music school. Like that'll be the thing.
That's it, yeah.
And it's always just kind of been like that pretty much my whole life, yeah.
I think it happened around the time when I was 19 or 20. I've been playing professionally up until then, but I never thought I'm actually going to pursue a career in music until I had to serve the Israeli army in a band, in an orchestra. So everyone else around me was so driven, you know, to become a musician. And I sort of, like, all these, like, 100 people influenced me, I guess. Eventually, I just, you know, it was convincing enough.
Yeah, for me, I would say when I really knew was 14. It's when I first started to play trumpet every day. And yeah, I remember especially listening to, I got a Dizzy Gillespie, Ken Burns compilation CD. And I remember hearing Dizzy and hearing all the different like types of grooves and stuff that they played over. And I was like, oh, I could see getting into this, you know?
If you had to describe music to somebody that has never heard it before, how would you describe it?
Vibrations of sound which create a unique and deep emotional response.
Wow, that's a
Great
answer.
I would say it's you know, it's almost like a method of time travel, because when you listen to a song, you're immediately transported to another time, or, you know, or you could say to someone who's hearing music for the first time, you could say, okay, listen to this song now, and now listen to this song in 10 years, and it'll probably bring you back to this moment when you're first
You're
hearing the
absolutely
song.
correct, yeah. It's a great perception. How would you describe the kind of music that you guys create currently right now and where you guys are at in your careers?
I would say that we make music where anything can happen in any moment. So it's improvisatory in nature. But also one thing that we're very mindful of is to play songs and or tunes that create a very specific atmosphere and to stay in some of those atmospheres for longer than one might normally stay there.
I had asked a couple of your fans, well, they DM'd me when they knew that I was gonna be interviewing you guys, and they wanted to know, which is funny because you just answered part of it, but a lot of people assume that you guys, as a band, when you're out in the park and you're playing, that you guys improvise the entire set. Is it a little bit of improvising, a little bit of maybe you pepper in songs that you guys have practiced together? What's the whole process behind what you guys do?
Sometimes when we add new songs, what we do is we'll practice them at the beginning of a set. And that's how we'll get into it. Yeah. Because there's the least amount of people there, there's the least amount of chance to like screw up in front of people. So we'll like, oh, we've been working on this one, like let's start off with this today, and that kind of draws the people in and we'll see how we feel, and we'll give that a run a few times. But we don't go in with, hey, let's play these 10 tunes today, or
It's just
20.
instinctual, whatever you
Yeah,
guys feel.
we don't make set lists.
Whatever. Yeah, we never make a set list.
What do you
That's
guys think
awesome.
we should play
It's
next?
just like-
Yeah. It's just whatever you guys are feeling, you guys just know.
Sometimes they'll even just start without me saying, hey, what do you guys want to do? Or hey, let's try this. They'll just start, but oftentimes it's what I was going to call anyways. And sometimes, even if it's not that, it's a pleasant surprise.
Right. Yeah.
Or it's something in that same thing.
Yeah, sometimes we'll just start playing and we're not even playing a song, you know what I mean? Like, and then we find our way into a song that maybe we've played before, maybe we haven't. But we just kind of read the room and set a general tone, and a lot of times I'll just start with a groove because I'll feel, I wonder what is needed now, or I wonder what these people would like. I wonder, I see these people over here, I wonder what they would like to hear. And I try and really just read the room and come up, I'm kind of feeling like they might enjoy this kind of a beat. So then I'll start playing that kind of a beat, and then Tamir will just immediately hop on, and then in a few seconds we'll have okay, this is what we're playing. Or maybe it'll be a few minutes, But yeah, we definitely, there's a lot of improvising, for sure.
But it's kind of like we're creating, like within each song that we're playing, there's the structure of the thing. And we're always living within that structure. And it's like anything, if you want to knock down a wall, you can, but that's not very useful a lot of times. So,
I think we're really good at finding ways to make our own rules within the set of rules that are already there. And I think
At
we
the
do
moment.
that. Yeah, I think we do that well as a band. Yeah.
So in your opinion, what makes a great musician?
They can take people out of whatever they're going through in life and bring them somewhere else. I mean, I could look at specific elements, like you have to have great rhythm. I would say that's non-negotiable. Like you have to have great rhythm. And you have to have a beautiful sound. Honestly, I feel like everything else is kind of negotiable.
Right. I agree.
Great taste, I know that's subjective, but like,
Strong taste.
great taste, and someone who's hardworking.
I just think a commitment to the idea, to the vision.
Actually-
and that includes hard work. I think you can't have a commitment to the vision without hard work and without rhythm and without all these things. But
And I would say of the people here, I maybe know the least theory-wise, which if you knew me, I'm probably like the most not theoretical, but the
Analytical.
I'm the most analytical probably in the group. and I probably have the least analytic knowledge of music theory, but you can tell the really good musicians because they hear the music.
Yeah.
Like the best musicians have the ear.
Yeah,
Whether they have the best facility on their instrument or not, like they hear the music, they hear where it's going, they hear what they're trying to do, and they're accomplishing that thing, you know?
Which is different than when people think they have the ear.
Right.
Other people have to tell you have the ear. Like in all seriousness.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like some people are like, I have such a good ear. It's like, I don't know, sir. Like,
I don't know who gave you that idea.
Some people, like if everyone tells you, yo, you're hearing some different stuff that's like really happening, then you can start to believe
Again,
it.
I think it goes back to like for me, creativity is like knowing the rules and finding your own way to navigate them. And you can tell who knows the rules and who doesn't.
Tamir knows the rules, in case you're wondering.
Yeah.
He's like a professional snitch. He's like the jazz police. Not just joking.
Yeah, I think it's true, but I think without hard work, you can't actually hear anything.
Yeah.
So in order to get things clear in your head, so you can clearly execute them in a way that other people will feel that will be able to get to another place, you must practice a lot. You must love what you do. And I think we have a friend, this great drummer Adam Aruda. So he told me that back in the day, if you wanted to get into the union as a drummer, you had to go through an exam.
You gotta know the rudiments.
You got to play all the rudiments. You had to show that you're that you're an accomplished drummer. Like it's actually a craft. Nowadays, for years and years, for hundreds of years, musicians were professionals. Like someone who like a carpenter or something like this. Had to. Right. You can't just go into it without any proficiency. So nowadays it's different because you can amplify different voices. You can just express yourself kind of in a rough kind of way, and people will dig it because it does take you to a different place. Like someone might not be that accomplished in playing an instrument, but they will be very effective emotionally. So people will be like, oh, I love this. This is the best thing I ever heard. But it's not necessarily true about that person being able to jump on a gig and play any sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So it's very.
I would say, simply put, just someone who absolutely loves music. Because, it starts there, because if you love music, you're going to want to do it all the time. And if you do it all the time, then you're going to get good at it. So I feel like that is the first thing, that makes a good musician, is just someone who loves music.
I know what you mean. You would mention that before. You said you have to love what you do.
Yeah.
In some sense, I think you also have to love everything you play. Every sound that you emit, you have to love that thing, because if you don't, how are the other people going to?
And if you don't, you work on it and you get to.
If you don't, I'm just saying in the moment of like even outside of practicing, but when you're creating for people, whether it's recording something for them or playing live for them, you have to love everything that you did.
Yeah, and everything that everyone else is doing. Like, you just gotta have a love for the sounds that are happening.
What would you guys say is the biggest misconception that people have about musicians?
Oh, so many.
And their living, that they do that for a career. What's the biggest misconception?
That we just are just weed smoking, just not doing any work.
They said misconceptions.
Oh, my bad.
Are they true misconceptions?
Not conceptions. They had a conception, and this conception fulfilled the conception.
I think what people don't realize about musicians is what the work of it actually is in practice.
Yeah.
Which is the easy part's the playing the music.
Right.
The hard part is schlepping your gear, all the way to the gig. You got and just like a lot of times you're basically a caterer, which is cool.
Right.
But that's how a lot of people see you a lot of the times, and and that's kind of the work of it, and everything else is the fun part.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I get constantly. There's one thing that I feel like some people misunderstand, like when I went to college on the summer break, I went back home and I worked at a factory. So there was this other young guy who was working with me, and he asked me what I'm doing usually, and I said that I go to music school. So music school? I was like, yeah, and he's like, don't you already know all the songs? You know, it's like, and I heard that before. Like people are like, oh, how long did it take you to learn how to play? And it's like, it's just the wrong question because you never really finished.
Right.
You know, learning how to play, and people really don't get it. Like they're like, no, I'm like, oh, you know, my whole life I'm still a student, and they're like, oh, you know, you're just being, you know, humble. I know, but it's really true. It's not about humility. It's just the wrong question. You know?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
I'd say for me, it's when someone's friend is a really great singer who should be singing with the band. That's a common misconception, because I don't go to send the emails at your office, so please don't.
Although maybe they'd like that if you did that, you know? We could try it.
What advice would you have for anybody that is pursuing this line of work as a career? What is the best advice? And also, what has been the best advice that you guys have been given during your career? It could be from anybody.
Always, like, you know, you might not be able to control, like, your talent level or whatever, and then there's so many things that take years of working on, like, you know, like, learning the actual music itself is such a broad process that, for me professionally, the only thing I can really control in each moment is like being really early for a gig and treating the band leader with respect and just kind of, you know, or treating the person at the venue with respect, the wait staff, the bartenders, just being really nice to everyone because they talk to the owners of the place. And it's like, you know, like that's the thing you can control in that moment. So, and I think a lot of people don't really think about that as much.
What about you? What do you think?
What's
the best advice that you've received so far?
Two things that come to mind that I think about on the daily. One bit of advice came from my father. We were playing a gig in, you know, this is back in Ireland, and it was the first night of a residency that my dad was doing, like a weekly gig. And he told me, he was like, okay, so the plan here is, you know, we want to keep this gig so that, you know, I can pay the bills and you can, you know, have food on the table or whatever. So in order to keep the gig, we got to make everyone feel good and we got to make people dance, and that's what your job is, you know, as a musician or as a drummer, is to make people feel good. And that has stayed with me. That's kind of like where I'm coming from whenever I sit down behind the drums. The other bit of advice was given to me from the great Antonio Hart, amazing saxophone player. And he told me when I first moved to New York, he said, only take a gig if you're gonna learn all the music. Don't say yes to a gig if you don't have time to learn all the music. Only say yes to gigs where you're just like gonna come really prepared, and that's helped me so much.
Wow, yeah, it's a hard question.
That's a hard question, yeah. I mean, I thought of like, maybe, I can't think of a specific person to tell me like this is the one advice, but like, for me it's just, I think the pandemic has taught everyone this, it's like, just don't expect anything. Work hard, do something that you love and work hard at it. Don't expect anything, like treat the music as a microcosm of life. Whatever lessons the music gives you, like take that into your life, because you can't guarantee you're gonna be a musician. I can't say I'm gonna be a musician a year from now or 10 years from now. I'm going to play music till the day I die, but I can't let that incapacitate me, you know?
I think now in the current kind of vibe on the internet and in the world in general, I feel like it was probably always present, but now I feel like people really want to get famous. Like that's a drive behind almost everything they do, or a lot of people are, a lot of young people too. They, you know, everything is like towards, oh, I need to get as many views as possible, you know, please, maybe one day, you know, my video will go viral or something, and then, so, but it's really not about that. And this is not where like happiness comes to you from. And, you know, it's more about, yeah, just doing little by little every day and just really, you know, devoting yourself to the cause that you love, you know, which is music in this case. But it really, like, it's really anything else that you do in the arts. I guess you won't be like very famous, I don't know, engineer or something, but like the point is to really concentrate on the craft of what you're doing. That's what I would say. That's the best advice I could give someone.
If I was giving advice to upcoming musicians, I would just say, like, imagine what you want to be creating, you know, when you're a grown musician, and do the things now so that you're able to do that creating later on.
That's good.
Thank you very much. Give it up for David Leinert on the keys, Diego Joaquin Ramirez on the drums, Miles Tucker on the tenor sax, Tamir Schmerling on the bass. My name is Wayne Tucker. If you can, please hit us on Venmo or on the bass drum case. That was called Lonely Woman by the great Ornette Coleman. This next one is written by Roy Hargrove.
So what did we learn today, guys? We learned that music is a universal peace pipe. It is the best thing that we could ever have in the best of times and in the worst of times. But don't forget, if you see musicians, love them and revere them, because without them, life would be really dull. So until next time, guys.
Let my